Welcome to IAS Baba. Today we are going to see the international relations discussion for mains 2023. I hope all of you would have seen the question paper and how it was. So it was like when it comes to international relations, what I would say, this paper was kind of very current affairs oriented only, as it is always, but the questions were pretty straightforward, and that nothing was much of analytical. So I can say it is too easy to medium level of questions have been asked in this year mains 2023 when it comes to international relations. So and the trend was also, we'll see the trend for international relations was also pretty as predicted. See, the in an average in international relations, it's always somewhere around 4 questions will be asked, and the mark would vary from 2 10 marks and 2 15 marks would be the average score which would be asked. And in this area, if you see, this year also you have 2 10 mark and 2 15 mark, which is the this year's question. And you see, all of these years this has been the trend, and an average they have been asking around in at least 30 mark you can expect from this area. So this is the trend analysis for international relations when it comes to 2023 and all the previous year. And I would share the slide in the YouTube description. You can again once more check on it. Okay, now let's go to the paper discussion. So when it comes to international relations, most of the students like to prefer only corely based on the current affairs perspective, but this is what everyone would prefer, and everyone will start focusing on almost the same material, and you will end up giving almost the same content which is there, and there will be no scope of diversification, irrespective what people think this question paper was a direct, but answering this questions can't be very straightforward answers you can't frame, because the questions were so simple in nature, but still you have to do some analysis. Only then your question paper, your answer paper looks far different than the others. And if you prepare only on the theoretical, only on the current affairs perspective, what happens is you will get an average like 3 to 4 marks. That would be your average score. But if you are pretty strong in your statics also, like the theoretical section also, you can definitely score more than, like, there is a scope to score more than 6 marks, which can go up to even 7.5 marks. So in this, you should definitely take into consideration the theoretical aspects of international relations also, so that you can get an analytical view of the questions and what is being put through it. Okay, so now we will go to the question paper discussion. So totally there were 2 10 marks and 2 15 marks. So look at the score, albeit this is the trend. A small area is fetching you minimum 50 marks in your mains. So you don't think that you can just get this 50 mark, or maybe a very good score in this 50 mark just by preparing only those current affairs magazine. So you really need to go little bit of static also. Okay, now let's go for the first question, which was asked in the mains 2023. Yes, so virus of conflict is affecting the functioning of SCO. In this context, in the light of above statement, what is the role of India in mitigating the problems. So, see, the question is majorly focusing on the virus of conflict that is affecting, you have to break down the statement. Whenever such a question is asked, you have to really break down each and every word so that you understand what is the demand of the question. Once you know the demand of question, then you will be able to all the subparts whichever is asked in the question. Okay, so now you can even highlight that in the question paper. That also you can do in the examination answer sheet. In mains, the questions will be printed apart from your question paper. So you can also use some underline, or you can put a box like this so that the examiner also will get an information that you have tried to jot down and understand the question properly. So that is one additive advantage for you. Then the functioning of SCO. In the light of above statement, what is the role of India in mitigating the problems? So India in mitigating the problems. Okay. So this is how you break down a question. So once you break down a question, now you know there are so many parts which you have to address. Only if you address, even though it is a 10 mark, you have to address every aspect of this. Only then you will get the maximum score when it comes to mains exam. Okay, and this is for every GS paper. And whenever there is one more statement which you have to know, so whenever there is a substantiative statement like this, virus of conflict is affecting the functioning of SEO. So how you will give an introduction for this? So generally what we will do is, we tend to define SEO, or we used to give the memberships, because we used to study for prelims who are the members of SEO. But you can try also give some substantiating statements so that this there is something which is affecting the functioning of SEO. So even that also we can start a statement, which can also be one start. Otherwise, which is a traditional intro, which I would say right now, which you can always go for a safer side. If you don't find anything substantiating statement, definitely you can go for a traditional intro based on some facts, which is the conventional way of introducing an answer. Then there is absolutely no problem in introducing with a fact or a definition or any kind of backed up data based of introduction or a quote. So the first is how we can say for example, instead of giving the membership, what I would say is SCO, that is Shanghai Cooperation Organization, is an economical, political and a defensive security organization started by Russia and China in 2000. Started by China and Russia in 2001. So after that, it is the largest regional organization. It is the largest regional organization. Okay. Apart from that, it has 60% of global Eurasia's geography, 60% of Eurasia's geography. Then it has 40% of world population, 40% of world's population, and 20% as of 2021. The global GDP. Okay, the 20% of, see, we have given 3 facts. Okay, and we have given who has introduced in 2000, who have started the organization, which is Russia and China. So with this we can make a 2 to 3 line statement stating that it is a largest regional organization, which is 60% of the Eurasia's geography and 40% of the world's population and 20% of the world's GDP. So this will give a proper introduction for you. And then when did India join? I'll give you some general information also so that you will get an idea about SEO. India showed its interest by joining the SEO in 2005, and it was properly inducted into a full-time member in 2006. 7 as the Astana Summit. So this you can write below the introduction and give a underline statement fact that India has also joined Astana during the Astana Summit SCO. Okay, so this is how a proper introduction can give you fetch you really a good mark. Okay, so introductions have to be really powerful. So yes, now we will go with the main virus of conflict, which is the first part of the question. So there are two parts basically. If I can see in a macros perspective, there are two parts. One is the virus, what are the conflicts which is happening in SEO which we need to substantiate, and the second part of question was how India, what is the role of India in mitigating the problems. Okay, so the first part of questions, see, there have been some international observers and also some international thinkers, what they have called SEO, they have called it as a Shanghai Contradiction Organization rather than Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So this has been dubbed in such a way because there are so many issues which have been conflicting and contradicting between this organization. There are more contradiction than cooperation in this organization. So that is why they have told that way. So which is the same lines UPSC even asked, and it's a very straightforward question as well. So what all contradiction which was existing, there are two types of contradiction which I would like to say. One is intrastate contradictions. Second is there are some broader challenges which SEO is facing. See, this within this intrastate there is interstate contradictions also, which we will see, but these are the broad two subtopics which we can give an answer. Okay, so what all this intrastate and interstate? Now let's see what is this intrastate. So sorry guys, when it comes to intrastate contradiction, which is between the SEO members, the first state, obviously India and China. We have so much of issues between the two major powers, which is already we have border issues which is going on. Doklam issue is there, which went on, now Ladakh, this issue is going on till now. So this, we have border issues with China. Border issues. Next, we have the BRI issue, which is the Belt and Road Initiative, which is a major setback because in this BRI, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, the CPEC, which is passing through the Pakistan occupied Kashmir, which is a major bone of contention between India and China as well as Pakistan. So this trilateral issue India cannot support because it's a sovereign issue. Then this is why India has not signed the Samarkand Declaration. Samarkand Declaration, which happened in 2022. The BRI component, India never signed it. And also in New Delhi Declaration, when China, which happened this year, when China put forward this BRI initiative, India never supported it. So this issue between India and China is been a long pending issue within the Shanghai Cooperation, which is a virus, like a conflict which is happening. Okay. Now next. Other issues. India-Pakistan issue. So Indo-Pak issues, we have went through 2 traditional wars with them, right? And we have border disputes. Then we have the issue of terrorism, cross-border terrorism, which India is accusing for Pakistan's being a state-sponsored terrorism is there. Okay, which is a reality when it comes to India and Pakistan both being a member of which is again a pressing issue. Next, second point. Third point, we have Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, we know the Talibans have taken over, right? So this Taliban issue, China is able to engage with them because they are able to have some sort of understanding. But India, being a development and Afghanistan's people centric and democratic government, we cannot be going an outward engagement with Taliban. So this Taliban and the security associated issues, it has a regional dimension also. Yes. Though China has brokered a deal between Saudi Arabia and Taliban, still a stable Afghanistan is a distant reality. So that is again an issue in Afghanistan when it comes to one of the member, which is also a conflict within the SCO, right? Then the fourth point, we have the Armenia and Azerbaijan issue. The Armenia-Azerbaijan issue. What happens here? There is we call it as a Cold War era problem. The Nagorno-Karabakh region. There is an issue. So this Nagorno-Karabakh region is a border dispute between this Nagorno-Karabakh region is an issue between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Both are countries which are members of SCO. Again, it is an intrastate issue which is having a problem with SCO. Then within the SCO, not with the SCO. Then 5. There is a border dispute between Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, which is again a border dispute. They are not able to, come into terms with them. So this issue has been going on for a while. That is also one more issue. After that, we all know 6th point, we have the Russia and Ukraine war. So what happens in this Russia and Ukraine war is, Russia is one of the founding member, as we saw in the beginning. Russia is a founding member of SCO. And if Russia is not able to respect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of some other nation after the annexation of Donbass and Crimea, it puts in the question, even the founder is not able to come into terms and is not able to behave in such a fashion that it can safeguard, live as per its own principle, then how come such an organization can ever function properly? So again, there is a conflict which is ongoing for a long period of time, which will definitely impacts the way how SCO is functioning. Okay, so there we have already mentioned how many points? Indo-China. See how many points are coming, how many issues are going on. And still we have a lot of issues when it comes to SCO. And then we have Russia and Ukraine, and there is China US rivalry. So what happens is, this China and US rivalry, which is there is a kind of a geopolitical issue. Okay, geopolitical issue is an issue which is happening due to based mainly mix of geography, resources, minerals and everything, and also as a dimension of political issue. So this China being a economic giant which is grown recently is always an issue, and this issue is always a rivalry which brings into a separate dimension within the own SCO's conflict, because China is also a founding member of SCO, correct? Then we have one more issue, which is the Central Asian interest. The Central Asian angle, which I would like to call the Central Asian angle. What happens is, say for example, in the Samarkand Declaration, which Samarkand Declaration happened in 2022, after the meeting at Samarkand in 2022, where our Prime Minister also visited. So in this declaration, what the declaration mainly centered was, Central Asia is the heart and core of SCO's strategy. So this again, US also, NATO and US also have their own interest in Central Asia, which is again, beyond, it is going beyond the beyond the avenues of SEO, but still it is again a block which is forming, which US is again viewing, US and the Europe is viewing against it in a very skeptical way. Okay, and after this, one more issue which I would like to say, 9th point, Central Asian angle. And see, these are all, there are, China is there, Pakistan is there, India is there, Russia is there. See how many nuclear weapon states are there. Okay, it's already a military organization also. Okay, it's a defense organization. So many nuclear component is involved here. Okay, so many dimensions we have in only in the intrastate issues between SEO and within the internal conflict. And apart from that, we have some broader challenges also which we are about to see. So let me first write all these things so that you will get a clear idea. Okay, first we will go for the First we will go for the intra-state issues in SEO. First is India and China, then India and Pakistan, then we have Armenia, Azerbaijan, then we have Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan issue. Then we have Russia, Ukraine war. Then we have US, China rivalry. Then we have Central Asian dimension. Then we have nuclear component. So literally we have 8 issues when it comes to the intrastate issues. Okay. Apart from this, we have some broader issues also which is affecting the SEO, which is again a conflict, broader conflict, which is within the SEO, there is no trust between the members. Okay, because see, all of these countries are from different ethnically, politically and geographically different regions. Central Asian regions, Russia, China, India. See, all of these things doesn't have any political unity between them. So this creates a kind of a natural rift between them. So this has led to the mistrust between them. Then we have lack of intra-SEO trade. See, again, Pakistan, which is there, the BRI, which is again lead to so much, the Belt and Road Initiative, it has led to a debt trap between so much of countries, and they have started viewing from a skeptical point of view. Again, the trade itself is become very, very minimal between these countries, where Pakistan is a blockade for India, and these things are again at very minimal level when it compared to the global standards. When it comes to WTO standards, the trade is very poor in terms when it comes to SEO. Then the third, we have the mistrust and institutional development. Under this, what happens is, See, this is a relatively, unlike United Nations, unlike WTO, unlike IMF, this institution SEO is relatively new and it is still expanding. So what happens is there is a lack of institutional development within this organization. There is no much of diversification in this. So these things have been plaguing this entire functioning of SEO, and we can keep adding. Okay, we have, in spite of rats, which is the terrorism controlling structure which we have within the rats, but still again Afghanistan, Pakistan and almost all the Central Asian countries, Kazakhstan, they are still suffering from terrorism, which SEOs are not able to take any and between these countries only, Pakistan is again Pakistan would like to they would like to sponsor terrorism against India, so between the countries there is no the terrorism between the countries itself, it is not able to curtail. So these are the things which is the major virus which is conflicting, and which is the major reason why SEO is not able to function as a organization. Okay, so this is why it is already also dubbed as Shanghai Contradiction Organization. Now this itself, I think I have mentioned you more than like 8, and here 4, there is a 12 points. It's a 10 marker, but still we have so many points. What are the virus which is conflicting within the organization? So if you could have mentioned at least 3 of here in interstate and 3 here, it would suffice, at least, which is maximum, which I could say 5 points from this would definitely more than sufficient for you to substantiate that the first part of the question, where I have given you more than 12 points. Okay, now we will go for the second part of the question. What is the second part of the question is, what is the role of India in mitigating these problems? Whatever problems which we have seen right now. Now we'll see what is the role of India. See, you can put such subtopics. The examiner will definitely appreciate you, because you are being clear with two divisions how you have separated. Okay, the role of India. See, when it comes to SEO as an organization, everyone views SEO from a very strategic and a defensive type of organization. Okay, but when it comes to India, we have more than defense or more than strategic things which can be viewed upon. Okay, only because of the presence of India. The first thing is, when it comes to, first we will discuss about the strategic component, then we will go with the broader components. Okay, when it comes to the strategic component, say for example the presence of India, especially when it comes to the time when India has chaired SEO after Prime Minister Narendra Modi has returned from US, is definitely he immediately chaired the SEO meeting, which sends a very strong signal that India is able to maintain a strategic autonomy between the East and the West, because this is a regional organization which is also dubbed as some kind of anti-Western bloc or anti-NATO alliances. So SEO is dubbed as anti-NATO alliance. So this organization was always seen skeptical by US and Europe, because China and Russia is leading them. Right, and the entry of US as early as 2005, it was rejected by SEO. 2005 US applied for membership in SEO and it was rejected. So for this reason, this has always been a bone of contention, and it has been seen as a anti-NATO alliance. So but the presence of India has completely changed its color, right? Because India is always it has never been aligned. It has been a part of the almost the start point of non-alignment movement, and this has also been put this regional bloc a check as well, because it can never turn into a anti-West, because though before we had this non-alignment gesture, but right now we are more towards West. Right now, we are shifting. So this posture is again very crucial when it comes to the outlook of the organization, where India can play this role in mitigating any kind of future conflicts. Okay, then First we have this anti-NATO alliance type, which this power rivalry is getting balanced due to the presence of India. Next we have India has been always a humanitarian approach when it comes to international relations. You could see anywhere, if there is an issue, any disaster, maybe any kind of tsunami or anything, India is the first one to go and approach. In terms of, you can see in terms of Nepal, in terms of Afghanistan, in terms of Maldives, Mauritius, India has always been humanitarian in its approach when it's forming its foreign policy. So at this time, India's humanitarian approach can definitely be a soft power approach when it comes to changing the outlook of organizations. Say for example, when Taliban took over, after the withdrawal of US from Taliban, from Afghanistan, Taliban took over, but still India has not cut its development assistance to Afghanistan. See the gesture what India would do when it comes to humanitarian assistance. So this way, other countries, especially those countries which have been in internal conflict, can definitely take inspiration from India's proactive approach, right? So this can be one of the major role what India can play when it comes to mitigating the problems which SCO is conflicting. Third point is, we have seen 2 points, right? The third point, we can go for a zero tolerance to terrorism. See, India's domestic policies are very clear. Okay, India's zero tolerance policy towards terrorism is been evident due to the number of steps which India has taken between domestically and as well as in international organizations like United Nations. India has been always the proponent against terrorism. It has been vocal. It has been, in spite of the RATS, which is a anti-terrorist structure which SCO itself has, India's vocal and India's steps, India's recommendations for being zero tolerant against terrorism can be one of the inspiration towards SCO, so that they can also take those measures and definitely they can put those things into action, which is still under process, which is feasible when it comes to SCO. So this is one of the three main things. Apart from this, as I said, this is again mainly based on very defensive, very kind of strategic considerations. But this is not all about India. India, we have soft power approach. Now we will see what is the soft power approach, what India has much in its baggage it can offer when it comes to SCO, and try to mitigate the problems, right? Softer touch or softer approach. What India can do with its softer approach. So, when it comes to 2023 meeting, before the New Delhi declaration, Narendra Modi has given, our Prime Minister has given a vision for SCO, which is a vision for SCO, which is secure. So this vision, and he has given a vision and 5 pillars on which SCO can function. So all these 5 pillars where India has played a mastery can definitely be utilized, and that can definitely change the complete outlook of SCO as an organization, as well as it can help it to sail through all the internal conflicts which it is facing as an organization. Okay, now we will see the first S, and S belongs to security. Focus on the security for those inter-country and intra-country issues, right? That should be there. Then economic development. then connectivity, then unity, then respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity, and then we have environmental protection. So these are the 5 visions where India has put forward for the functioning of SEO. A software approach where India has played a major ideas on all these things where SEO can really focus on. Okay. Then the 5 pillars where India is again helping SEO to change and mitigate its problems is the 5 pillars. The first one is startups. See, India has 70,000 startups. Okay. In this 70,000 startups, we have around 100 unicorns alone. Unicorns. So what happens? This much of expertise, this much of knowledge, we can use it in the Central Asian countries which have so much of potential, but still the expertise of India can be used there, which is again, say for example, most of the Central Asian countries are poor and vague in GDP, especially the entry of Iran, Belarus and Azerbaijan, Armenia. All these countries are not as much as developed. They are resourceful, but they are not developed. So the startups, the expertise of India can be used in this process. Then trade and connectivity. See, when it comes to trade and connectivity, as I said, India's north-south corridor idea, and for example the Chabahar port of Iran, put these things into action. What happens is there is because China is a major role player when it comes to the energy source in Central Asian grid. But Central Asia has so much of resources. Again, India's role in trade and connectivity when it comes to the international north-south corridor and the Chabahar port, this energy diversification for Central Asian countries can also be one of the dimension. Okay, so they can gain it. See, these are all soft power approaches. Okay, how you can as an organization you can function rather than outwardly functioning only on the defense perspective. So this is one more direction where India can play its role in mitigating the problems of SEO. Correct? Then we have the youth. See, the youth empowerment. What happens is the youth angle. India, as we know, is definitely one of the youngest country in SEO. And China's population is aging. So, in these terms, the skill and manpower which India has definitely can benefit the entire Central Asian region and SEO. So, this will definitely change. Again, India's youth skill can be used in when it comes to SEO's functioning. Okay. Then we have Then we have the traditional medicine. See, India traditional medicine. When it comes to traditional medicine, recently the WHO Global Center for Traditional Medicine was Global Center for Traditional Medicine. Traditional medicine was started in Gujarat, and India, as we know, we are the only country where we have provided very cheap medicines. Okay, so these things will definitely all these Central Asian countries which are backward and they definitely need medical supplies. Definitely India's knowledge of traditional medicine can also be used, and this initiative in Gujarat, again, it's really a good initiative. when it comes to help in mitigating the problems that SEO is functioning. Apart from that, we have the another cultural initiatives which are very soft approach, as we have already seen the soft approach, the Buddhist heritage and SEO, right? And SEO is cultural capital. Cultural capital is Varanasi, right? Which is again was recently announced at the New Delhi declaration. So all these things, what it has totally changed how to see how SEOs can function, how the Shanghai Cooperation Organization can function, rather than directly only based on the contradictions which it was facing, mainly on the basis of all the intra country conflicts which we saw, and as well as the broader challenges like mutual distrust and as well as connectivity. So we have given almost a solution for all the things based on the 5 vision, secure vision of what we have put forward, India has put forward, as well as the 5 pillars on which India can definitely function, so that it can make the SEOs mitigate the problems which it can arise in the future. So how we can give a conclusion? See, Narendra Modi has told India is seeing SEO as not as a part of they are based on the principle of Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam. We see SEO as a family only. Okay, so this component beyond as a regional organization, the values of India of Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam, and as well as the strategic autonomy and the anti-West power, without even explicitly stating that it was an anti-NATO alliance, which it had an outlook. So all these things can definitely, we can summarize and give up a statement that it can definitely India's presence in the SEO has been definitely harbinger of all India's presence on SEO. SEO has changed its complete color from a defensive organization to a much humanitarian, as well as a more softer approach in its in its outlook. Like that, you can have a proper balanced conclusions based. Mainly when it comes to conclusion, what you should do is you should give more emphasis how India has contributed for the well-being of the organization. So this will definitely so I have given you a lot of points. You can directly, if you have at least mentioned, so 12 points in the conflicts I have mentioned, and again some 5 to 7 points I have given you in the solution. So if you would have written 4 points there and 4 points here, which is more than sufficient. In introduction also, we have started with the fact, and conclusion we have given a very poised and a India-based solution, India's proactive based solution, which will definitely fetch you really good marks. So this can be one of the approach how you can deal with this question. Now we will go for the second question. So yes, the second question is again a 10 marker. Indian diaspora has scaled up new heights in the Indian diaspora has scaled up new heights in the West. Describe its economic and political benefits to India. So again, it's a 10 marker. So when it comes to these things, again the keywords are Indian diaspora, new heights in the West, and then describe its economic and political benefits to India. So there are 2 parts in this question. So again, this is a 10 marker. It's a pretty direct question, which I would say. Now we will see what are the how to address this two parts of this question, right? So yes, see the Indian diaspora. When we start this answer, we can just tell a general definition about diaspora, or maybe the Indian diaspora, how as cultural ambassadors they have been, projecting our presence abroad in every country they have visited. So you can give a very mild intro about the Indian diaspora and their contributions to arts and various, medicine and all other sectors which they have been which they have played a lead role in those countries which they have located, right? When it comes to West, first we'll see what all the West means. What we generally mean here is West. Here we generally mean is US and Europe. In Europe also we have the main diaspora is UK, Netherlands, Italy, Portugal, Spain. So these are some of the main countries which Indian diaspora is majorly settled on. And if you see in US, they are even, in UK you can see, and they are almost leading in every of these countries. In US, if you see, they are IT companies, Google, you name it, any IT company, they have started so many companies, and also CEOs of those companies. They are administrators, even politicians. We have Kamala Harris, right? Canada, you see the Sikh community, Sikh community is there, right? And you see Rishi Sunak up to UK. See, when it comes to diaspora, whether they are politically diaspora or ethnically diaspora, the definition is varies, okay? But when it comes to government of India's, the general acceptance of diaspora is both NRIs and persons of Indian origin. Okay, though Rishi Sunak is born and brought up in UK, his parents were Indians, no, that time. So we can tell. So, and other these, and then when it comes to these European countries, we have jewelry as one of the main component, then trade, then we have medicines, then we have in the medical field, then we have garments, fashion and textile, right? These are the main areas where the Indian diaspora is engaged and have reached heights in the Western countries, in the West specifically. So we have right now, you can also quote some examples like Sundar Pichai, those all, Indian background people who have established their heights in the so-called West. Okay, now we will go to the, apart from that, if you really wanted to mention some data also, which you can definitely do to substantiate your arguments, which there are huge number of data we have. Say for example, the International Migration Report of 2022 of United Nations Economic and Social Organization Office, UNDESA, has released a document which has explicitly spoken about the Indian diaspora's success in the West, and it has spoken about the Indian diaspora's contribution to the industry and the intelligence of the West. So this report has highlighted that. Apart from that, we have the United Nations Conference of Trade and Development, UNCTAD report, which is based on Indian diaspora in 2023, which was a recent document. Indian diaspora, in a recent document of 2023, it has explicitly mentioned that Indian remittances is alone 100 billion, okay, 100 billion US dollars So see, it is the largest recipient of remittances, India, and it is the largest country which has such a big remittance than any other country. So this report you can again mention. Say two reports, and there is one more report which you still wanted to know as a fact. The Center for Development. Okay, the Center for Development 2022. So this report was unique in itself because it studied mainly the Europe, American Indian diaspora, and it came to a conclusion that the Indian Americans are the largest ethnic group which was educated there. So it's again see the heights they have, they have reached in the West, right? So Indian as a single ethnic group. At a single ethnic group, Indian Americans and Indians are the largest educated crowd in the American population. So see, these are the things which, based on how you can substantiate the first argument, which is the Indians have reached greater heights in the West. Okay, now we'll go to the second part of the question, which is second part of the questions. We have two parts. One is economic part, right? Economic part. How India is benefiting economically from Indian diaspora. The first is, yes, as I said, you can mention about remittance. See, about 100 billion US dollars, 100 billion US dollars definitely which is coming back to India due to the manpower which is working for us in abroad is definitely helping to the poverty in India, right? Economical benefits, which is a great source of income for all the households which is in India. Second is investment. See, when it comes to investment, we have 14 billion US dollars, which is being funneled only by FDI, which is like funneled only by the Indian diaspora. Apart from countries and companies which I am not taking into consideration, 14 billion Indian diaspora alone is bringing in investments, which is almost 10% of FDI. 10% of FDI of 2022 economic survey. Okay, so based on this, see, almost 10% of FDI is being brought in by the Indian diaspora. Again, one more economic benefit. Third thing is we have trade and commerce. See, this, as I said, this jewelry and textile and garments, which state majorly exports. We have we have Gujarat, Maharashtra as one of the largest exporter of textile, and also we have in South India we have Tirupur, again is called the Manchester of India. So all these things have a greater scope of export probability in India. So these things are entirely dependent on European markets. Okay, these people, Indian diaspora who stay, definitely you could have at least have some friends who go to abroad. Definitely they start one textile business because it is a huge scope and demand for Indian goods and the quality also which we manufacture. So yes, through this directly we are Indian diaspora is promoting trade and commerce in the world markets, right? Then the fourth point, okay, I'll write it in a fresh board. So trade and commerce, as we have mentioned. The first one was remittances, second one was investment, third one was trade and commerce. Then we have the IT industry. Say for example, Indian, people like Sundar Pichai, the way they lead companies like Alphabet, Google, so they definitely give their market is mainly based on India, and their source of employment, because of the skilled manpower which India is having. Obviously, so many some US has even changed their H1B visas policies just to attract Indian employees. Okay, so based on this, this Indian diaspora is again getting, though they go back, they start companies in US and they come, and again they will start up some kind of job opportunities they also provide based on Indian population. So this is an indirect employment opportunity which Indian diaspora is able to provide to India. So this is one of the benefit which we get economically from the engagement towards Indian diaspora. Then we have one more thing, which, so gone are the days before we used to worry about the brain drain and all, right? Now knowledge sharing. See, knowledge sharing, when it comes to, there are so many live examples excuse me, live examples how the Indians who are able to get education from there come back to India and have also started so many R&D projects, and so many technology transfer is happening nowadays. They come be here and give guest lectures. So all these things have been because India do have some schemes also, like the No India program and Bharatiya awards also, Pravasi awards also, we have collaborated, so that these things has been due to the advent of IT industry, we are able to, the knowledge which we were worried before, knowledge sharing, brain drain and all, now it has been taken care. So now the Indian diaspora is also helping to share back the knowledge whatever they have gained from the renowned institutions which they have studied there. Now we have seen the economical benefits. Now we'll see the political benefits which the Indian diaspora is able to benefit the Indian diaspora is able to help India as a whole. The second thing, the first thing is, for example, political benefits. First is soft power, obviously. So what happens is, this Indian diaspora who's living there, they are almost one of the most culturally, they exhibit the Indians culture, Indians heritage across the different countries. So all these things, what it gives a good outlook also to the place which they live, and it also builds a sense of trust in a society where they live. So this gives a good idea about the India's culture also to the crowd, and also the way how people to people contact is getting it is, again, this is one of the way even foreign policies are decided. Okay, so again, this soft power approach helps us immensely. Excuse me. Next comes the idea of advocacy and lobbying. See, when it comes to the Indian diaspora, they have been, as we saw, they have been in very well educated, they have reached new heights. So all these things have made them to have a better say in their governance. Say, for example, during the civil nuclear deal in US, the Indian diaspora was able to influence the US government to sign this agreement with India. That time 2015 Barack Obama came, so at that time we were able to take decisions. So these things were, again, one of the main role was played by the Indian diaspora. Then we have fundraising. See, after this Indian diaspora also directly we can take foreign contributions also for the functioning of elections here. Like they can give contribution to electoral parties. So these things, through this they are also one of the destination for fundraising. Apart from that, voting. See, Indian diaspora, we have the component of NRI and PIO. So we have recently NRIs can vote, they can take part in elections also through. So this we have, politically they are active, they are able to contribute to India back, even if they are as a part of Indian diaspora who are not presently residing in India. So apart from this, the general then the general one more point which if you want, because there we have mentioned a lot of points in economy, you can say about India's image. Say for example, when it comes to promoting India's image in terms of global arena, in the Indian diaspora always have been pitching our ideas so that we are politically stable democracy. Say for example, even Sundar Pichai in IMF Davos, he has given good comments about how India's talents are contributing for the entire world GDP. So these things will definitely have one more point also when it comes to political development. So this is the points when it comes to power, political support what Indian diaspora is able to give. So we have mentioned about 5 points in economy and 5 points in political aspect also, and we have also given some substantiating statement based on the world report like International Migration Report, the UNCTAD report, and as well as the Center for Development. So I think all of this can definitely make a very good answer, and there will be little or no scope for the examiner to reduce your mark. And when it comes to conclusion, yes, obviously Indian government has recognized the potential as well as the importance what Indian diaspora plays when it comes to benefiting the nation as a whole. So, and based on this, India has brought up schemes like the No India program and the Pravasi Bharatiya Divas. All these things to attract the Indian diaspora and also benefit them as a whole is a welcome measure. And so these things can also be one part of your conclusion, so that you have mentioned 2 schemes also in the end and some government measures also. So all these things will definitely make a really good answer. Now next we will go to the 15 mark questions, which is we have 2 questions. We'll see that. Yes. Now we'll go for the third question. The third question is a 15 mark question. Okay. Now we have, when it comes to a 15 mark, we really need to be more elaborate as well as give more number of points addressing all the sections of the question. Okay. Now we'll go for the third question. The strengthening and expansion of NATO and a stronger US Europe strategic partnership the strengthening and expansion of NATO and a stronger US Europe strategic partnership works well with India. What is your opinion? With it? What is your opinion with it? Give examples and reasons. See, give some examples and reasons which to support your answer. Okay, it's a 15 mark question. So 250 words you have to write. See how many parts we have for this question. So now there is an expansion and strengthening of NATO keyword first. Second, stronger US Europe strategic partnership. Then how works well with India, whether it is working well with India. Then what is your opinion, right? What is your opinion? Whether it is working well with India. Then give some examples and reasons. So all these parts you have to answer. Only then you will be awarded maximum mark for this question. Okay. So now we will deconstruct them one by one and we will see how we can able to address this question in a holistic fashion. Okay. Now the strengthening and expansion of NATO. Strengthening and expansion of NATO. See how you can start the question. Introduction can be the expansion of the strengthening and expansion of NATO, as well as the US-Europe strategic partnership is a major geostrategic and a geopolitical event which can have widespread global as well as regional impacts. Okay, so these things can impacts. This can be a very good start for your answer because you have substantiated and you have put it as a major geostrategic event. Okay, so these things, now we can see what are the effects. What are all these things? First, NATO, you should know about NATO. NATO is a military alliance what US has formed in 1949. After that, we have the Warsaw Pact. In return, what Russia started in 1950s. So both of these things were Cold War. Before the start of Cold War, these two organizations were started based on the ideological basis, which we will not go into right now. But still, this expansion on NATO has started from 1949 itself till 2023. It is still going on. Okay, so this is the strengthening and expansion of NATO is still going on. The last country we will see, what Finland is the last country, and with the, Ukraine, what happened is, right? What is the reason? First we will see what are the reasons for strengthening and expansion of NATO. Okay, the first is the collapse of Soviet. With the collapse of Soviet Union and the Warsaw Pact of Russia, what it happened was this made us a sense of insecurity in the Russia, because the Soviet Union has collapsed. So what it tried to increase its influence. Russia tried to increase its influence, which it's lost in the Central Asian regions. So in a tug of war between this Russia and as well as NATO, what happened was US tried to push its own agenda by making some erstwhile Soviet Union states into the NATO's influence. So a lot of Soviet countries joined the NATO. So this is how one of the reason for expansion of NATO. Second is Soviet has collapsed. Then rise of new challenges. What are the rise of new challenges? The rise of new challenges like terrorism. Then we have cyber warfare or cyber attacks, right? And weapons of mass destruction. So what happens is, these things are forcing countries to form into a stable military bloc, which NATO provides. NATO is a military organization. It can take action against its members who takes, any kinds of defensive step. So the rise of nuclear states. So all these things, what happens is, those states who doesn't have this capacity, they try to form an alliance with the NATO. This was one of the major factor for increasing expansion of NATO. Next is, we have the interest of newer states. As I said, the expansion of Russia is indirectly influence. See what happened in Ukraine. Right? Ukraine is, though not right now, it is one of the interested states in NATO, but these states are trying to get into an organization majorly to counter Russia's influence. As we see how European countries were able to pass sanctions against Russia in these times. So these things are indirectly influenced. Say for example, Finland is the last country to join this alliance, NATO alliance, in 2023 this year. So again, Finland, like countries which are mainly wanted to a stable and a peaceful government, are also trying to join this organization, right? After that, commitment of US. See what happened after Cold War was, there was a short span where after Cold War, the bipolar world shifted to a unipolar world where US had a major say in almost all the global affairs. From US became a superpower. So these things, these things, what happened? The US tried to play the big brother role, and because of Europe's and as well as Central Asia stability is more important to not only for Europe and as a globe, but it is important for the global community as well as US itself. See, for example, what happened in 9/11, the US was attacked. So US commitment in this NATO, again, it is pushing forwards for a more stronger and a expanding NATO, and so that it has more influence in the global world, in a global order. So these things are one of the main reasons. So we have first to try to attend the first part of the question, which is the reason for strengthening and the expansion of. See, these 4 points is enough because we have so many points. Okay, now we will go for a reasons for a strong reason for strong US Europe strategic partnership, right? What happened here? How this is getting strengthened? Why? What are the factors which is strengthening major US Europe strategic partner? Was the first is, we'll go for the China's growth. So China's growth in the market has not only affected US but also the European region. So in this, indirectly now, for a better trade deals, for better not only trade but also for a better security, European nations are indirectly, they wanted to directly mingle with Europe. So I mean mingle with US for their own market stability. Then we have the threat of Russia. As you see how in the Ukraine, so much all the international world order was flouted by Russia, and Europe sided with US, passing sanctions against Russia. So these things we can see, and they wanted to isolate Russia for not respecting the global order and respecting the territorial integrity and sovereignty of other nations, independent nations. Okay, then we have global challenges. What are these global challenges? See, in the globalized era, not only at economical level but at every level. Say for example, terrorism is a global challenge. Say for example, climate change is again a global challenge. Again, cyber warfare. So these things, what happens is making countries to definitely being a major bloc. Europe one side and US one of the great superpower. Definitely this is one indirect influence which is leading for a strong US Europe strategic partnership. Okay, then, and we will have one more point. After that we can keep going on, but we will limit because we have other parts of the question to answer also. Then we have the shared values. What are the shared values? Both these countries or regions have, US and Europe: democracy, rule of law, freedom, right? So all these things definitely has one type of indirect influence where countries would try to mingle up, because both are capitalist economy also. So rather than the China, which is again a communist regime which is going on, so press freedom, all these things has a more shared value. So these things will definitely make for a stronger US and Europe partnership. Okay, so now these are the things which is leading to this partnership. Now we will go for how India is getting benefited, because that is one of the major reason what we have to see, because this is a very short, we don't need to give this much elaborate, but I have given you I want to give you more number of points, so that you will even if some of these points you have mentioned, that will be definitely making your answer more holistic. Now we'll go for the India's advantage. See, they have asked your advantage, I mean they have asked your opinion. Okay, they have initially said that works well with India, but that doesn't mean you have to always only give a disadvantage or it doesn't work well. So they are asking your opinion. So it is always wiser to give a more more holistic answer. You should discuss, you should be able to discuss more positives as well as some negatives also, so that the examiner will get an idea. So you get both the ideas as well, the most advantages as well as the disadvantage, and then you have given your opinion at the end, and explicitly they have asked you to mention some examples, so that we will right now we'll see that also. Okay, so the first is, this will play as a deterrence to China. What? This Europe EU partnership, I mean Europe and US partnership will indirectly, how it will deter China, which will also get benefited for India, because deterrence China, see the South China Sea, how they are trying to dominate that region, Taiwan Strait. It is almost trying to put a monopoly and trying to don't respect no rule of law, no international world order. So this will definitely play a major role in the Indo-Pacific region also, where India has a major role. So this US-Europe partnership is very necessary for the Indo-Pacific region. Correct? Then see, for example, they have said give your examples and reasons also. The reason is this, and the example is, say for example, US has conducted the freedom of navigation. Freedom of navigation. It was a naval exercise held in the South China Sea. So this was one good reason what China cannot itself think that it was no one can be controlled. So this was an indirect threat to China that no, you can't do this to us. Okay. Now first is deterrence to China. Second thing was, we can say a security cooperation. How India is getting benefited? Security cooperation. Say when it comes to this US and Europe security cooperation, we are able to get technology transfer. Say for example, US were able to send the F-35 fighter jets for India. Right? So this gives an indirect security cooperation to India, where due to this US and as well as a stable Europe cooperation, it will definitely get benefited. Then we have economic growth. Economic growth again is a major component. One is, say for example, India's third largest trading partner is Europe, and we have one more largest partner again, US. So both of things will definitely bring in investment, trade, right, and market. So these things will definitely benefit India. It works well with India, both of these things being one and one supporting, that is US and the Europe engagement. Then we have the maritime. So what happens in maritime? Say for example, in China is trying to exert its influence even not only in South China Sea, but also in Indian Ocean. India is a country with such a vast maritime boundary. So in this case, definitely India needs to get the support of and the support and banner of the Europe and as well as US. Though India was a non-aligned, it has not definitely explicitly joined any military organizations which was started by the West, especially NATO. But still, these type of initiatives definitely works well with India when there is a duo between the US and the Europe. Okay. Now we have mentioned about 4 points, which is the deterrence to China, security cooperation. Then we have economic cooperation between India and Europe and US. Then we have the maritime security angle in this. Then we'll go for the next points. So then we have the diplomatic and political support. What we will get here, 5th point. 5th point. Diplomatic and political support. How? Say for example, diplomatic support first we will give and political support. Political support we will keep it as separate point. Sorry. Political support. Then in the diplomatic support, say for example, during this Indo-China issue, Sino-Indian issues between the Doklam and even between this Ladakh, when the Indian soldiers were killed by the Chinese army, both Europe and US, they combinedly condemned China's actions, which was not in a modern state perspective, which is again a diplomatic support which we got from both US and China. Then when it comes to political, say for example, China, both we have shared values, democracy, freedom of speech, rule of law. So all these things again, freedom of speech, all these things, we have a better political say between us. We have shared values. This will definitely bring Europe and US and India. It definitely works well to function when we have a soft power type of approach between us. So yes, political support. Then we have global stage. See, when it comes to global stage, the recent G7 summit, India was invited by US and Europe to take part in the G7. Okay. So we are giving examples also side by side so that the demand of the answer is met, the demand of the question is met. So G7 we have been invited. So through this, what India is getting benefited, it is working well that India is getting a global stage, a better say in the global affairs. So all these things definitely are helping India, and it is definitely working well between the nexus between the US as well as the Europe. So we have mentioned some advantages. Now we will see some disadvantages so that in the conclusion we can get a balanced answer so that it is not biased, because the examiner is asking about your opinion. Of course, you are giving your opinion only at the end after knowing both the pros and cons. So that gives a holistic answer. Now we will see the disadvantages. What is the disadvantages? See, when it comes to disadvantages, obviously disadvantages. Obviously, this type of engagement with US and Europe is not going to go well with China. There is a point of conflict again which can increase due to this sort of engagement. indirectly, because China is not going to get happy with this. So this will definitely can trigger their emotions, which will again lead to such border tensions rather than definitely going to go for a solution. So these things of engagement is not really working well as well. Then we have China conflict which is increasing. Then we have again a sort of loss of strategic autonomy, we can say. Sorry, first point is China's angle or conflict. Then we have loss of strategic autonomy. Loss of strategic autonomy. Disadvantages due to the Europe US strategic partnership for India, which does not work well. So say for example, if we are going to frame policies only based on China, we are going to make some allied sort of decisions based on the US and Europe, because we will be persuaded by the US and Europe to take such a policies just to counter China or Russia. So these things again will definitely put a indirect check in our strategic autonomy. So these things again will definitely trigger these issues. Then Indo-Pak issues can also trigger, because Pakistan is always wary whenever we get close with these type of US and as well as Europe, because their interest is never going to be get met. So these things will definitely make them more wary about the interest which they get from, their interest is getting affected. So these are some basic disadvantages. We can give strong disadvantages, but still we want to agree. In this case, we want to agree more with the alliances is going to be a pro. It's going to be a supportive for India only. So these things I'm keeping this limited with 3 points. So now how we can give a conclusion? See, in the conclusion, we can definitely say it is definitely a positive aspect that India has been able to, that US and Europe partnership is definitely a positive. At the same time, when it comes to maintaining the strategic autonomy of India and interest, when it comes to the national interest, India should also promote rather than a bipolar world, but should engage with multilateral institutions and always promote multilateralism. Maybe India should engage with in a groupings in a more global institutions for solutions for such things, which can definitely promote a more multipolar world, rather than again this will again US, Europe on one side and China and Russia on the other side. Again this will make a bipolar world between which India would definitely not prefer itself to see. So definitely in this way we can give a poised answer that yes, definitely it's a positive thing, but in a broader context, rather than again switching to a bipolar world, it can definitely promote into a multilateral and go towards a multilateralism as one of the major foreign policy perspective. Like this, you can give a good unbiased and a neutral conclusion also, right? So these things, with this we will go for the last question, which is about the International Maritime Organization. Yes. So now we will come for the last and the fourth question when it comes to international relations. It is one more 15 marker. It is a pretty straightforward question. Now we will see what it is. Sea is an important component of cosmos. Discuss in the light of above statement the role of IMO, that is International Maritime Organization, in improving improving, in protecting in protecting environment and enhancing in protecting environment and enhancing maritime safety and security. So again, it's a pretty straightforward question. International flow fora, we have this last topic. Almost every year there is a question from this topic. So in this, they have asked about the IMO's role in protecting the environment and enhancing maritime safety and security, which is one of the main, this is why the organization is started itself. Before that, they have given a statement that sea is an important component of cosmos. So this statement, again, as I said before, we can start the statement with, we can start the answer by substantiating the statement. Either if this statement was said by Jacques Weiss in a book called Sea of Cortez in 1961. Okay, so this is a very remote book. No one will be able to remember this and study this much remote quotes and all. So if you want to remember, you can remember right now, but maybe future you can use it. But it is a very remote statement. Anyone would remember these things in the exam hall. So what we can do is we can start the introduction, which will be unrealistic also to expect that someone to remember this remote statement. Okay, so we can say that IMO is a international maritime organization started in 1948 at Geneva, and there are totally 175 members in it, right? So primarily aiming at we can give the same rephrase the same statement, primarily aiming at protecting environment and preventing pollutions arising from the shipping industry. So these things, it is headquartered also, we can mention it is headquartered in London, okay, UK. So this is how a generic and definitely a factual intro you can give for this answer, because it's a pretty straightforward question, not much to delve into analysis part. So now we will go with the body part, which is again. So we have three components. They have asked about what are the IMO's role in enhancing, in protecting the environment as well as enhancing the maritime safety and security. So before going into the role, since it's a 15-mark question, you will definitely get a lot of areas. So definitely you can write about the functions of IMO, because that will definitely give you a hedge from other students, because you can't be mentioning this answer more elaborately, right? So functions of IMO. It has just some 4 functions only, which you can definitely form one statement. So what it does, it develops conventions and rules for protecting the pollutions which is arising out of the shipping industry. So definitely that is one of the major function of it. Then it gives technical assistance to countries which require the expertise to develop into pollution free technologies to those countries. So it gives those technical assistance also. Apart from that, it increases the cooperation between the member states for protecting the environment and also to avoid pollutions from these things, from the pollutions which is coming out of the shipping industry. So it promotes cooperation. Then we comes with the monitoring and evaluation. What it does, it definitely monitors and evaluates whatever pollution is coming out of the shipping. So these are the major functions which will definitely give a major edge over, because again it's a 15-mark question. We should definitely at least mention this much about IMO's functions, right? Now we will go to the main part of the question, which is IMO's, International Maritime Organization's, role in protecting. So we have three components. One is environment, second is maritime safety and security. Okay, so three components we have. First we will discuss about the environment, protecting environment. What it does, see, one of the when it comes to IMO in mind, we have one major convention which everyone will definitely know, which is called the International Convention on Protecting Prevention of International Convention on Prevention of pollution by ships, which is also majorly we will call it as the Marpol Convention, right? 1973. So it is better to remember such conventions because it is world known convention. So it is about Marpol Convention, which is aimed at protecting the ships, protecting the environment from the pollutions which is being created by the shipping industry. Then we have International Convention on the sewage and from ballast systems of ships. This is one more convention which is again related to shipping industry only. Whatever sediments are being coming out of from the ships. So these things again one of the international conventions. Then we have the SR Convention. SR Convention is International Convention on Safety and Environmentally Sound Recycling Convention. So recycling of ships, right? They are meaning recycling of ships convention, which is one more measure which is being taken by the IMO to have an environmentally sound principle for environmentally sound recycling of ships. Then the last one we have the AFS, which is called the International Convention on harmful and anti-fouling system of ships. Anti-fouling systems of ships, which is again one of the major convention which the IMO take for protecting the environment. Apart from this, what IMO does is it engages with the UNEP and other international organizations to curtail greenhouse gases whichever is getting emitted from the shipping industry. So this is the environmental measures which the IMO takes when it comes to protecting the environment from the shipping industries. Okay, now we will see the second part, which is the role of maritime safety and security. In this dimension, we can give It definitely gives technical assistance. As I said, it will gives gives technical assistance when it comes to development of ship to shore communication systems, as well as the intra communication systems between the land, as well as the technical aspects between the sea also. So it definitely gives a maritime security to the ships which pass through. Okay, then it promotes um awareness about the maritime security. Okay, and then there is a convention which is called the SOLAS convention. SOLAS convention is about safety of life at seas. So safety of life at seas. So this promotes the this is a major convention for the maritime safety. So according to this convention, what all the necessary measures ships should at least maintain a minimum basic standards for the ships to sail and all these things. These will definitely have that. Based on this convention only, those rules and regulations, how much weight a ship should be, so all these things are based on the SOLAS convention. And we have one more convention, which is convention on the training of watchkeepers and seafarers. So that is meant, the SOLAS is meant for the sea, that is meant for the ship. So this convention is meant for the minimum standards required for the seafarers, the sailors, the captains, the watchkeepers, whoever involved in the shipping industry itself. So that convention is there for this maintaining the maritime security. Then we have, when it comes to security angle, this is for safety. These things for enhancing the maritime, we have two dimensions, which is safety and security. One is for safety. Now when it comes to security, we have the two famous conventions. One is, we have the Djibouti Code of Conduct. Djibouti Code of Conduct. So Djibouti, according to the Djibouti Code of Conduct, so what Djibouti Code of Conduct is, Djibouti, it suppresses the piracy, armed robbery, which takes place in the West Indian Ocean as well as Gulf of Eden. So this code of conduct is framed by IMO. Then we have one more convention called the SUA convention. SUA convention is nothing but the suppression of unlawful activities, the suppression of unlawful activities in safety of shippings. So this is again one more convention which is again aimed at enhancing the maritime security. So first we saw about what are the IMO's procedures to protecting the environment. Three parts, as I said. Second, we discussed about the safety angle, what IMO has brought in. Then we have discussed right now two conventions which is based on the security angle of IMO. So based on this, this will actually address the holistic, the demand of the question. But still, if you had some space, you can definitely add on this. There are some points which can give some additive marks also in this, because since it's a very specific questions, most of you would have some problem in addressing the questions, because the facts are very remote. It is very little chance that a mains candidate could have remembered all the conventions. But apart from this, if you could have written there are some drawbacks also when it comes to functioning of IMO, right? You can mention that also, which is, what are the drawbacks? The drawbacks are low enforcement capacity. Okay, so the IMO definitely has does not have the power to enforce any things. These are conventions, but they don't have any legal backing, though they can pass sanctions. Say for example, 3 billion was sanctioned for oil spills by Chinese ship last year, but still the enforcement is still in a very is not effective. Then we have slow progress when it comes to making the agreements effective. So IMO's functioning is also considered as very redundant, and most often the conventions are flouted or rarely followed, and the environmental guidelines are not being effectively implemented. We can see piles and piles of plastics are getting filed. If IMO would have worked out effectively, it wouldn't have been the process. Again, slow progress is one of the major thing, and again there is lack of coordination and cooperation among the member countries. And you can see how often they have combined meeting, how often they go for resolutions. Nothing like that happens in IMO. So these are the major drawbacks of this organization. With this, you can also mention of addressing how you can give advantages, like how you can make these drawbacks to be foolproof. Of course, giving more teeth, giving more enforcement power to IMO can be one of the solution. And then yes, of course, speeding the process of bringing into and widening especially greenhouse gas and climate change as one of the component between the IMO can again bring in more teeth to IMO. Then again, promoting coordination and cooperation against the member countries will definitely also increase the role of IMO in protecting in the environment as well as the maritime safety and security. So with this, and can also be a one good conclusion with the proper way forward. Otherwise also you can mention about India being a founding member and being a proactive player in global stage, definitely can give all these suggestions to IMO and bring greater cooperation in protecting the environment and enhancing the safety and security of the global maritime security. So all these things can also become a good part of conclusion. So this is the 4 questions. We have definitely discussed more number of points than required. Actually, we have discussed almost all the dimensions in all the 4 questions. If you would have definitely given at least some 50 to 60% of this, whatever I have discussed here, would definitely give you the maximum marks there. But I have explicitly kept this content more wider so that you will get all the dimensions in the answers. So yes, with this we will end the discussion when it comes to international relations mains 2023. Yes, we will meet. I'll meet you in the next session. Thank you, guys.